Let's take that off. There we go. Hello everybody, I'm Tom here at Kaijutopia. I'm in the middle of a project and I thought wouldn't hurt to just start streaming. Why not? It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. Let's see. Rawr. Let's see what else we got going here. So if you are just tuning in, the current project that I'm working on is going to be a massive Titan ensemble. You're going to get Godzilla, Gamera, Ultraman, Kong, Gypsy Danger, and such. There's going to be so many awesome kaiju goodness coming our way. I'm not quite yet ready to announce all the specifics just yet, but you know, stick around. Maybe I'll drop a couple more hints and stuff. Usually I really enjoy, you know, the surprise, the element of being able to, you know, I don't want people to come in and watch, you know, these projects knowing full well what's happening or having an idea of what the overall project's going to be. So I want to keep that in mind. Bit rate. Lovely. Let's see what I can do about that. Oh, hey Archer, Merry Christmas to you as well. Hope you had a good one. Don't mind me, just making quick little adjustments that may or may not go into effect for the stream, but that's okay. Currently doing some stop motion work here. What I like to do is just record my subjects all in one go. You'll notice that I keep going frame by frame here. Start with Goji. He looks up, roars, because that's what he does, of course. That's why we love him. And then, you know, sometimes I go 2 frames per second. It really depends on the pacing, the movement. Sometimes they go too fast, so I might try and, you know, maybe throw in a static that's a freeze frame. I'll likely have an example of that in due time here coming up. But the reason why I prefer recording, doing everything in video is because with 2 frames per second or even just 1 frame, you could see a true difference a true difference when it comes to your subject, literally how it contrasts with the lighting. Sometimes there's more detail, a more concentration of pixelization, usually because of, say, if I'm animating around his head or his face or, his hands. Your camera, and the camera that I use is my iPhone X, it'll pick up on that, and so it'll focus in certain parts, and that adds a bit more, I'd say, exposure, and it just overall is all about improving that immersive experience, which is always what I want to do when you watch these projects. I want you to feel like you're actually I feel like you're part of the story process. You're there with these characters, even if they're like, granted, they're toys, right? Oh, quick little shot here. That's funny. Good thing I caught that. That would have been very funny. For a blink and you'll miss it, but Godzilla is secretly being controlled by giant hands. Let's see what we got here. It's felt like forever since I've done a VFX stream. The last stream I did, my internet for some reason kind of crapped out, or things just started going slow, so who knows, that might happen again. But I just felt like, it's really cool that I'm finally working on this big stop motion project I've been planning for a while now. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're always big. Let's just be real here. I have several coming up here in the next few months, where we're gonna actually start seeing what I've been planning for a while, called Gamera 4 Herald of Mothra. It's obviously a fan film, but it takes place immediately after Gamera 3. It's a sort of just fun little alternate take on how I thought that ending could go, but throwing in a little Mothra goodness. A little Mothra never hurt anyone. Except maybe Mothra, but hey. So you'll notice I went from stop motion, frame by frame, and then here it's just one take, one shot of me rotating Godzilla. And the reason why this is happening is because this shot, okay, so this entire VFX comp that I'm working on here, it's going to be super complicated by my standards. Generally speaking, I try and limit as much movement as possible, because I like doing multiple different angles, different shots, and then I can edit them together to add a bit more like flair. Like, okay, let's say in one comp here I have Godzilla, lunging with his claws, like he's gonna try and like slash you in the face or something. So I might do a quick 2-3 second shot of him lifting up his claws and then lunging at the camera, and then I do another take but from a different angle of Godzilla's claw landing, and onward I go, and I can edit all this together and such. But here it's just going to be an extremely long take where Godzilla's roaring, but you might think it's a little awkward. Why is he turning around? I mean, it's just so strange. I mean, especially since it just looks like he's not even moving. It just looks more like he's on some sort of, moving ground. He's just, it just looks so wrong, and that's fine because Godzilla's actually not going to be moving in this shot. What I'm planning on doing is us, the audience, the camera, not a real camera, but it's going to be panning around him and his Titanic cohorts. So we'll see if I get the timing down. That's what I'm going to be working on for at least the next week. It's going to be a doozy, that's for sure. But we'll see how things fare here. I'm actually quite excited because every time I start a new project, I always want to make sure that I'm trying something new that I haven't done before. And this takes the cake for sure. I'm like absolutely I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm a little intimidated by what I'm planning here. I am. This is definitely out of my comfort zone a bit, because this is just, it's gonna take a while. But I think if things work out, it's gonna be absolutely worth it. So, assuming you guys celebrate Christmas and such, did anybody get some gifts? Anything of the Godzilla variety? You don't need to share if you don't want to, but, you know, I just thought, hey, why not? How's everyone doing? You know, feel free to let me know. Sorry, I had my laptop down here. Can't see it. It's decided that, hey, I no longer want to play YouTube videos because you seem to be streaming and you need to concentrate. And it's like, well, I mean, thank you, laptop, but one, I usually don't. It's kind of hard to concentrate when I am streaming, you know? It's rough. Because I need to do this thing called talking and, you know, communicating, explaining why I do something in a certain way. It's so... it's a lot of work. I got a neon Godzilla LED light. It's super cool. Awesome. I've never heard of those. That sounds really sweet. Let's see. All right. Gotta zoom in a bit more. This is a bit too hardcore. Oh yeah, now we're getting somewhere. So in this shot, after we pan around Godzilla, it's almost, I think it's not quite a full 360, it's more like a 180, give or take, spin around him. And eventually, once the green screen is taken care of, I get all the other characters. That's right, they're all grouped up. They're all, spoiler, assembled, kind of to give you an idea of where I'm going with this. Once that's all taken care of, that's when I can work on the background, because synchronizing the characters, making sure they're all in their rightful positions, making sure everything is where it needs to be for them, that's like the first phase of this project. The next step is to make sure I can get the background, which will be moving. I'll be using probably I don't know yet if I'm going to use what's called CC environment just yet, and then use a camera to help add a bit more depth to it. I don't know just yet, but that's going to be something. That's going to be the next step here. but there are many pieces, many moving pieces to getting this. Well, actually, literally, quite a number of moving pieces to get this to finally look the way that I would like it to look. Godzilla right now is looking up. He is seeing the enemy around him, and he's getting ready to, let's just say, unleash some of his thermonuclear fury. The dimensions for this will be in 4K. So if I go over here and click composition settings, I see 3840 by 2160, aspect ratio of 16:9. So the reason why I'm shooting it this way, forgive my my speech. The reason why I'm shooting, but not really, more like editing in this sort of aspect ratio, is because I like to have, even though the final product, the final version will be in 1920 1080, so 1080p or just standard HD, in 4K it allows me to, maybe if things don't work out, like if this whole panorama sort of experiment of mine blunders, or it works out, but hey, that's a cool shot of Mechagodzilla I really want to focus on. I want to, you know, do a close-up on him. But if I do that with a 1080p, you know, picture quality, and I have to, like, make it bigger, you know, increase the size, the pixelization suffers for it. So if it's in 4K from the beginning, I can boost it up to its size, or even make it a little bit bigger so that, you know, the video quality is not lost. There we are. Big G is looking magnificent, of course. I was debating about which Godzilla to use for this. In the beginning stage of this, I kept thinking about using the MonsterVerse Godzilla, but then I kind of felt like, you know, it's probably best to just use classic Heisei Godzilla. You know, my Bio Goji here, 1989. He is still my favorite design. The MonsterVerse Godzilla is top 3 for me. Or maybe top 5, depending on the mood. But I thought, nah, for the sake of this project, since the whole point of it is to have like I'm assembling. Sorry, a mouthful there. I was gonna say I'm essentially assembling the biggest, most recognizable titans, kaiju giants from Japan, with, you know, some imports here and there, some other giant characters who are inspired by, you know, the tokusatsu kaiju genre. That's why we're gonna also see Ultraman, but also some non-Japanese giants like the Jaeger Gypsy Danger from Pacific Rim. Kong is gonna be showing up as well. And this being all one big long take, I've got my work cut out for me, which is kind of exciting. Intimidating still, a little, definitely a lot to prepare, a lot to work with, but I think when it's finished, I'm sure it's gonna look awesome. It's gonna kick ass, take names, that kind of thing. Here I'm just hesitating. Did I want to, you know, make that tail move in one shot, or is that its own thing? Can take a look at it here in just a second. Ooh. Oh man. So like this Friday, by the way, if anyone's interested, this Friday I'm releasing what I'm calling Godzilla Unleashed Stop Motion Wars. It's just a collection of all the stop motion projects made within the past year, not exclusively 2023. I have a couple projects that I made late 2022 that weren't part of the last, you know, sort of collection of stop motion projects. I guess, you know, it might be easier to just call them a like compilation, but I'm pretty excited to see how everyone likes them. I mean, I try not to re-release the same thing over and over again, but it did occur to me that given the last few compilation projects I've made, be it the Ultimate Godzilla Stop Motion Battles or a Kaiju Wars, that's where I take my KWC multimedia videos and combine them into a long video. It occurred to me that there's still a huge audience out there. Some of you probably never saw those videos by themselves before, and upon seeing them in the compilation videos, that was your first time. So I thought, you know what? Why not? Why not just... It's a nice way to celebrate. A lot of work goes into these, and it would be a shame, you know, that some of you didn't get a chance to, you know, see them the first time. And sometimes it's just nice to be able to kick back and just watch, like, you know, Godzilla stop motion play out for like, you know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe longer. I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head how long this upcoming video is. Originally it was supposed to premiere, I made a mistake. It was going to premiere this Friday at 1 a.m. I meant 1 p.m. So, you know, oops. Ooh. Those of you familiar with these streams, my videos, are probably wondering, okay, so the angle that you're in, Tom, it's a little different. That's because for the holidays, I treated myself to those nifty, you know, computer desktops that allow you to stand. So it's, you know, I have my computer, my whole setup right here, standing up, so I can stand up and, you know, not have to sit down for several hours when I do these massive edits. That it just really helped me, my health, you know. It's nice, it feels great. Of course, the angle makes things a little difficult. If I, you know, a lot of the things in the background behind me are arranged in a specific way, so maybe you can see some cool stuff that you might like, but, you know, I didn't plan for that. Oh, we've reached the end. Okay, so earlier I talked about how sometimes I like to take my frames and turn them into, let's say, I want to make them what's called like a still image. So here Godzilla opens up his mouth and fires what will be his atomic breath. What I do here is I go to layer, I go to time, and then I click on freeze frame. Now I could just have him be firing off his atomic breath however long I want him to. So instead of a single frame shot, I've taken a single frame and extended it to about 8 to 10 seconds long. Now, sometimes what you want to do for these sort of shots is you might want to, sure, you can continue, you probably, depending on the kind of project you want to do, you should add a bit more animation, more movement. Godzilla just firing, opening his mouth and firing his atomic breath while holding absolutely still, not exactly the best look. So if this were a standalone shot, like as by that I mean if Godzilla, he's the only one in this shot, and I would have had his arms moving, so he fires his atomic breath and his claws are kind of moving back and forth. Maybe his head, his neck bends in a certain way, so he's blasting in different directions. It's good to add movement, but considering the fact that in this shot for this specific project, Godzilla is not alone. He is joined by an entire ensemble of other super powerful beings. You know, I don't have to focus too much on him solely. I can add, there's going to be a plenty to look at when it's all said and done. Let's see what else we got to do. Let's take a look at our full shot. Start with Godzilla here. I'm going to go down and make sure the very first frame here is also frozen so I can do more with it. Maybe start at like the 1 second mark, give or take. Can move that over. See how that looks. Roar. So that might look great. I think it does. Not to brag. Totally gonna brag. But what I want to do is right about here, freeze this frame, and what I'm gonna do is try and extend his roar to make it last a little bit longer. And now that's going to require me to reuse the same frames that I've done before and reverse them in order to make this last a lot longer. I'm just going to increase the time frames here because these the ones that I just extended will act as markers, and you can always just change the names, like Goji beginning take 1 or 1A and 1B, because it's this movement right here. Or maybe I should have did it right here instead. These are going to be the movements that I'm going to have them go back and forth on. Okay, let's give this a go. So I'm going to highlight all these separate frames, mesh them together. I'm going to pre-compose them. So Goji, I'm just going to say movement because I don't think I'm going to have to do this with Godzilla for the rest of the project. Go over, cut it off. Now these ones I'm going to return back, and even though they're single frames, I might come back and try them again here in just a second. So I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to make a duplication of the movement comp, but this time I'm going to go to layer time, and I'm going to time reverse that layer. Let's take a look and see why. I'm going to take it, move it up a bit, and put it right here. So now Godzilla's movement is being extended. And now I can go back to that first frame that I saved earlier and duplicate that. No, wait. I think I made a mistake. Just a sec. Boom, boom, boom. So now I'm going to go back and make a copy of this one instead. Let's see. Yeah, the problem with this new setup is like my chat is down here, so I have to bend over backwards. But yeah, I might get a new Monster Arts with my Christmas money, but I don't know which one. I also only have $136, so I'm kind of limited. Any recommendations from Coop, Vinny? Well, Coop, I mean, I guess that would largely depend on, you know, what you already have, but I've heard really good things about the SH Monster Arts 1991 Godzilla from Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. It's like Bio Goji, only bigger, like, arms. He's definitely been hitting the gym as of late. I've seen that guy in motion. He's got great, excellent articulation, great attention to detail. It's the Shinjuku edition. That looks great. It's on my my to-get list further down the road when I'm able. It makes a great companion to the Mecha King Ghidorah that came out earlier in the year. Mecha King Ghidorah, of course, is quite spendy. So looking at your $136, is that right? $136 budget. The Shinjuku 91 Godzilla, I think, comes around $100 before tax, shipping. That might be one in case if you're interested. Let's see what else I'm gonna do. Kind of trying to remember how to do the thing here. This guy over here as well. Then I think we're gonna do one more here. Yeah, that's gonna be cool. That's it. All right, this should be the last part, and then we can move on. So Godzilla roars. Looks a little. So the reason why I left these single frames here that acted as both a beginning and end for my duplication time reverse layers is because now, since the frames are frozen, I can go in and make them longer than a frame to make Godzilla pause here and there to just get that just right. So for example, I increase the frame rate here. Maybe increase it just a little bit. Oh, I got that for Christmas. Sorry, I should have said which ones I have. No worries. Man, I'm happy for you that you got it, though. Let me know what you think about it. Did you, I would also recommend, if you can't, geez, at the top of my head, I can't remember how much it is, but the Gamma Rebirth is pretty gnarly, too. That figure is super cool. See if this works. What I'm gonna have to do now is take the motion of Godzilla turning around. I'm gonna have to speed that up. So I go to time and time stretch, and I'm just gonna put 50 in just to see what that looks like. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to speed things along here. I'll just remove one here now. I have the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 91, 2019, 2021, 042, Ultima, and Shin Frozen version. Nice. Kong 21 exclusive version. Ooh, yeah, that's a good one too. Rodan Mothra 2019. Ooh, Gigan 1972 as well, and the 99 Gamma and Rebirth. Ooh. I should be the one taking advice from you. What would you recommend for me to get? That sounds awesome. Yeah, that was a lot better. Okay, that's looking good. Now we just got to go up and find all the other ones. Almost there. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Whoosh. All right. Need one more frame here where he stops. And he's just going to charge up his atomic breath. I think we'll be good for this first part. So he charges it. And then blast off. Okay, so Godzilla, he roars a little bit, and then he turns around. By him, I mean he's not really turning. He doesn't move after this, during this rotation part. That's us just moving around him. Now the real question is the speed right here? Probably not, because this is about 4 seconds. That's a little bit too fast. So we're gonna add a bit more time here. Let's try that again. Ooh. Good, good. Man, this is looking good. It is at the same time just the little first step towards what I am planning. I. So much to do. I'll have to work on this part because Godzilla is he's the main ingredient, or at least he's the one that will be the template for how every other character who shows up for this huge shot, where they're all gonna go, at what speed they're gonna be moving at. It's important that we get Godzilla right. He's the most important piece here to this massive ensemble that I'm planning. So, for example, we got Godzilla right here. I'm gonna mess with the position here, and I gotta make sure all the other ones now follow him. So I'm going to parent Goji 30 here. We're having him completely come off, but then get to have him come back. See how that looks. Alright. Definitely needed to time that a little bit better. Let's see what we got. I would recommend Mechagodzilla 2021. The tail movement is probably the smoothest in the line. That is true. I've worked with Mechagodzilla 2021 as well in my Godzilla Apocalypse Now project. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it yet. I'm curious to see if we're gonna see the Mechagodzilla from the Haya Toys lineup as well. I'd like to see if they can do something a bit different. Let's see what I'm trying to do here. It's a bit much. Like I said before, this is the main part that's going to be so challenging. Just trying to see if I can get this part to work right. Ugh. Let's make another frame here. Decisions. It's one of those things where the way I imagine things is like having a sort of collision effect with reality, but this is going to be probably the most lengthy, I would say excruciating editing part of this entire project, is to just get this timed just right. I have a feeling I'm going to come back to this part alone many times. So many. I think in just a few moments we're gonna end the stream. I gotta go and pick up my boy from daycare, so still, it's been nice being able to catch up with some of you, see how things have been going. Like, this is a big shot right here where it's like, oh. Right here before his body moves, before he turns, I want to be able to already have him beginning. Oof. Definitely a work in progress, that's for sure. Okay. Do you have the Monster Arts Ghidorah 2019? If so, what do you think of it? I would complete my King of the Monsters cast if you were to get it. So, Coop, I used to have that SH Monster Arts Ghidorah, the special color edition one. I've used it in a couple projects, and for me personally, it just was too much of a burden. I mean, it takes up a whole lot of space, which is fine if you're just a collector, but I also like to use my figures for stop motion purposes, so I ultimately decided to that it was no longer worth the space and the hassle of not only it taking up so much room, but also it was such a burden for me to do projects with. I decided to sell it. It's still, you know, it's not a bad figure by any means. It looks great, good detail, but it also had the habit of falling over a bit too much for my taste. So if you feel like that's something that you want, like if you're interested in, I wouldn't say it's not worth it, especially to complete your King of the Monsters lineup. I guess it depends largely on just what you want, right? Like, what are you looking for, that kind of thing. Oh boy, and I think I see... Might have to come back and redo all this at a different time for my editing here, because I might have to come back, cut this part, So what I'm thinking is I'm going to have to eventually make this all one big comp. I'm going to call it the Godzilla comp, because that's how I'm going to digitally remove the green screen and mask out certain parts that I don't want to end up in the final cut. But it might be easier for me to do this whole position movement thing after the comp comes in, because I'm going to be adding motion blur. And that might mess with the green screen editing part. Maybe. We shall see. Alright, everybody. I think I'm going to call it for now. This is going to be a pretty big project. Lots of monsters. Not just monsters, though. Ultraman. Robots are going to show up. I got Gypsy Danger from Pacific Rim. Kiryu Mechagodzilla will be making an appearance here. Got Gamera, Kong, Ultraman. Follow Kaijutopia's community. I like to update on there more frequently by the day, so you're going to be seeing some sneak peeks coming up, and I might be doing a couple more live streams here and there just so you guys can see what's in the works. And yep, this is looking good. Seems like my timing is finally where I want it to be, so pretty happy with how things are turning out. But yeah, hey, happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe, and I'll see you all later. And that was the wrong button.